Round 3 for Eric, and we'll work our way down the chain here. Eric, can 3D TV be installed by the consumer, or do you need to have it installed by professionals like Connect Pro, for example?
No, this is completely consumer-driven technology. I mean, it's really not more difficult than taking the TV, like any other TV, out of the box and putting it on your shelf, and then turning it on, pulling the glasses. The one thing, they're active glasses, so that means they're battery powered. You have to turn them on, and then they'll take just 1 or 2 seconds to sync with the television, and you're watching 3D. It's really as simple as that. As far as Connect Pro goes, I mean, Connect Pro's there to do that much more. If you want to wall mount or do any of those other services Connect Pro offers, that's always available. But it's really a consumer-driven technology. It's very simple.
Robert, for you over at Samsung, third and final question from our pre-defined questions. What is the quality in converting 2-dimension to 3-dimension? There's a lot of this up-conversion talk that we've been tossed around.
The quality will be totally source dependent. If you're sitting at home watching television, you'll notice differences in the various channels that you watch. So if you're watching Hockey Night in Canada, it looks great. If you're watching TSN, it looks great. But then you switch over to Spike TV or Speed, and the quality's not there. So any up conversion technology is totally dependent upon the original source material. We will have a demonstration of this up conversion technology here, but I think as more people are adopting digital television, high definition cable sources, satellite sources, they are going to get a really good 3D experience because the broadcasters are putting their money behind that technology. Again, it's a matter of positioning for ratings, for revenue. So if you've got a blockbuster movie that you're premiering, the broadcaster is going to allocate more bandwidth to that particular channel. The consumer's going to see a better picture. The 3D experience in 2D up conversion is going to be that much better.
And Jamie, your third and final question here is, if sports in 3D will feel actually like being at the game, at the Rogers Centre, for example, do you believe that 3D TV can directly impact ticket sales of certain sports?
Well, the hockey team in this town is often terrible and always sells out, and every one of their games is broadcast, so it's an excellent question. I don't think it will impact ticket sales tremendously because I think ticket sales in general have been impacted by the fact that everything is now on television. And I look back to when I first started watching the Blue Jays in 1977, you were lucky to get a game per week, and it enhanced the value of actually going to the game. And now there isn't a game this year that will not be televised. And I think people now, with the advent of flat screens and HD and now 3D, stay home because they can stay home and get, in many cases, a better experience watching it on television than they would by spending the money on parking and ticket sales and all that kind of thing and actually going to the event. I'm not trying to do, I'm not trying to insist that people not go to games. I think there's quite an experience in actually being at the game itself, but I doubt it will have much of an impact on ticket sales because I think people have already become so accustomed to having every game on television anyway that if there has been an impact, then we've already seen it.
I think you alluded to this, kind of what the user experience wants to be. They want to see it live and it becomes a big family event.
Right.
And you've got that experience, or the comfort of your own home.
Right.
Where we're so used to seeing it anyway.
People will look at this as an experience for a major event, and we see this happening more and more. You were talking about the story being in Vancouver for the Olympics, and when Canada scored a goal, and you heard every bar, the cheering going around. I think 3D is going to have that impact. Not everyone is going to adopt it out of the box as we launch this. We know that. But as someone has it, first thing you're going to do as soon as you buy this television, you're going to call over your friends, your family. You're going to come over and you are going to experience something. And that's where it's going to multiply. That's where it's going to roll out. And as soon as people experience this, then it's accelerated adoption will happen.
It's a good point. I mean, it's similar to when we launched big screen TVs back in the 90s, the big projection TVs. That was that experience. And customers, the first customer on the block that bought it, raced home, they put it up, and the first thing they did is they phoned their friends, hey, come on down, check this out. It's that experiential, that event kind of thing that's going to happen with 3D TV. I see it as no different.
And on to Roger, your third and final question, our third round here is, With the entertainment value being so high for action, adventures, sci-fi films, can you imagine a director not filming in 3D moving forward?
In the end, yes, it'll be, because it does work for drama. There's a filmmaker, I'm doing my next film, Transmission, in 3D. It's a very dark sci-fi thriller, and I've adapted it slightly to increase the experience on it. But you look at every project, and as I said earlier, I'd love to see films like Lawrence of Arabia in 3 dimensions, because I think it will add hugely. And all we're doing in 3D is duplicating what your 2 eyes see. We've been stuck all these years with a 1 single camera lens, where now you're able to put 2 up and you're able to duplicate what we're seeing in life. Therefore, even a costume drama, if you're not going to look at stuff flying at you and scaring you, that literally takes you out of the movie. And as filmmakers, you realize very quickly what the animal is that you're dealing with. And therefore, it increases the experience. If you're seeing a lush costume ball, for instance, if you're watching it in 3D, it'll be stunning. It just adds to the experience of it. So, in the end, one quick story. My editor, when I made Nostradamus, refused to go to digital editing. I come back from Romania. We took 3 days trying to find little short ends I couldn't find. By the time he found them, I'd forgotten what change I'd asked for. And I said to him, Alan, until you change over, I'm not going to work with you again. And I said, when you're on digital, I'll hang a piece of film over your Avid or your Final Cut Pro, and you can smell it and go, ah, the old days, ah, the old days. That's what we're facing.
It's easier or harder with 3D?
I think it's easier. It's just, you have to look at it more carefully. And I went here, Paul Anderson has just been filming Resident Evil 3D in Toronto. I went down on the set with him sometime, and we both agreed, you have, as a filmmaker, you put your head back 15 years, because you can't do the fast cutting all the time, because your eye takes time to adjust, because it's a much deeper experience each frame. So you're kind of going back to the slightly older style of filmmaking to start with. Now that may change in 15 years, I'll be going, what was I talking about? We're now looking at fast cuts, but at the moment, it kind of drives the storytelling in a different way. And then looking at edits myself, if you see, and this is where I know it's unstoppable, if you look at something in 3D as a shot, it's really quite interesting. The moment you put it into 2D afterwards, you suddenly think, wow, that looks really old-fashioned. And that's where I know this is unstoppable. I think this is the next kind of much bigger revolution than VHS to DVD. And look at the resistance there. Filmmakers throughout the world were going, oh my God, DVDs and doing it on video and releasing, it's going to ruin our industry. And in fact, it's just created a much bigger arena for us. It's enhanced it. So human beings kind of are governed by fear. It's quite interesting. And I guess filmmakers quickly learn to abandon fear. You just got to go out there and do what you do and try and push the limits all the time. So you have to kind of get over the fear of, oh, what's it going to do?
Richard, your last question in the 3rd round here is, what plans does Universal have to convert existing 2D films from the past? You mentioned some of the favorites into 3D. I know you kind of already alluded to it in your earlier discussions.
Can I change the word plans to interest?
Sure, interest.
I think that's where we're at. I think we have a tremendous amount of interest in doing that, and it's just a matter of what film, timing, consumer interest. You know, I mean, listen, I mean, personally, I would love to see a Jurassic Park in 3D. I'd love to see a Scarface. I'd love to see, you know, Bourne Ultimatum in 3D. That would be fantastic. But, you know, as I've said all along, I think that the biggest issue is going to be the filmmakers. And, you know, because they're going to want to be, and they're going to need to be, intimately involved in that transfer. And let's face it, I mean, Mr. Spielberg, Mr. Zemeckis, Brian De Palma, these are not people that have nothing to do on a daily basis. They're very busy. So it's going to, as it was with the early days of DVD, we're going to have to, I think, work with their schedules. But again, I think the interest is very high. You know, hearing you know, Roger talk about George Lucas's involvement with Star Wars and him sort of getting that going. I think once you see George working on that, you'll see other filmmakers jumping on as well. So.